Hi, hello, I'm Bum Bun. Nice to meet you. And if you're not new around here, welcome back, crew life. Today we're going to get into Carlisle Cullen. Carlisle seems to be kind of a complex character, and then also not at the same time. I'm not entirely too sure how she wrote him this way, but she did. Here we are. So Carlisle was the son of a pastor in the year, hold on. Okay, so Carlisle was born in 1640. He was changed in 1663, so he was turned at the age of 23. All right, so I think as it goes, if I'm remembering correctly, that he had no idea what happened to him. Honestly, he knew that he was in severe pain for like 30 days, and then it stopped. And then when he came to and came back to himself, he was like a whole different dude, right? He's super powerful, super strong, super fast, super beautiful, super thirsty. And that's, I don't know, I don't remember if he actually hunted anybody or if he resisted it to the point where he tried to like starve himself. And then when he wasn't dying, he was like, okay, well, this is not, so then he found an animal, drank that, and then he was like, okay, cool, this is gonna work, this is gonna sustain me. And then he lived that way for however long until he linked up with the Volturi in Italy. And then he stayed with them for a while, and then at some point he was like, hey, great hanging with y'all, fist bump. I learned a lot, eternally grateful, forever friends, but I'm gonna have to punch because it's kind of weird up in here. Y'all's philosophy is not necessarily my philosophy, so I'm just gonna, sing myself out. And then he began working as a doctor because he wanted to do as best as he could for humanity to try to atone for the fact that he exists. I don't know. He's another one of those where he was like, I'm an abomination, but I'm going to try to make the best out of it by helping the people that I'm supposed to be hunting. That's fine. That's cool. Great. Carlisle, here's to you. And then he finds Edward, who was dying of Spanish influenza, and Edward's biological mom said, hey, save my son. Save him in the way that only you can. Which implies that she knew that Carlisle had some shit to him, right? So he changes him, and then Edward is his first companion in this vampire life, and then they lived that way until, Esme, and then the rest came along. Got it. Carlisle is a gem of a human. He's calm, collected, very caring. He sees the bigger picture. He sees things outside of himself, and he just wants to do the best that he can for people, given his abilities and what he is. And that's about it. He's kind of in the same boat for Esme for me. Like, he's the ultimate dad at all of 23 years old. He's the ultimate doctor. And that's about it. He's very... what would have been interesting for Carlisle is if they actually got someone that was in their early 20s that looked the part, because Peter Facinelli, damn man, what is your name? All right, Peter, beautiful actor. I mean, I see why they casted him. Like, I get it, but it would have been more interesting to see Carlisle as the 23-year-old that he was supposed to be, just like for visual sake, because he is a 23-year-old, but from 1640. So if we're doing like you know, a comparison. A 23-year-old in 1640 was probably on their way out. So he probably would have behaved more like someone in their 30s or 40s or something, you know. I don't, just saying. But visually, it would have been more interesting because a lot of people in the town, they used to talk about Carlisle. They were like, you know, he's a top doctor and he's incredibly skilled and incredibly good looking and incredibly young looking. How is he this level of doctortry and he can't be a day over 25? You know, the wheels were turning in town, so that would have been really interesting to see, which as far as like, you know, Peter, that question doesn't really come up. It's just kind of like, yeah, you know, this is a doctor, what's a day? You know what I mean? So like, just for the visuals of it all, that would have been a bit more interesting. But like, you know, Peter played the role fantastically. But Carlisle doesn't have the super fleshed outness to him the same way that Esme didn't for me. But again, you know, it's not his story, so I get why that would be the case. But I don't know. I feel like we spent 4 books with these characters, you know. I just wish that there was like a teensy bit more. Like, what does Carlisle do on his spare time, you know? Even in Midnight Sun, we didn't get too much of that, apart from him like being in his study and reading or something. Again, you know, ultimate dad. But he is a gem of a person. He doesn't want to hurt humans at all. He wants to save them, which is why he's a doctor. And when it came to giving people a second chance, he would only do it if they were in dire straits. Like if they were a perfectly healthy living person, he's not just out here attacking people and changing them. He specifically waits until you're dying and you have no other choice of either you're gonna continue on as a vampire or you're gonna pass away here. That's his thing. That's his wish. That's fine. You know, very personable. He's got friends all over the globe. You know, as we saw in Breaking Dawn, he was able to, you know, make some phone calls and, you know, get the crew together and stuff, which is really a lot more interesting than what ended up happening in that movie. I have beef with Breaking Dawn, and we will get there, but it would have been interesting to see how Carlisle really was the patriarch of all it is, really, how he was able to reach out to different clans and cultivate all of these other friendships that he made over the centuries. That is really interesting, you know, because the Volturi keep to themselves and they only recruit you if you have something in you that are a once, really. They're not friends, they're not comrades, they're like employees, really. And the other clans, it seems like they all kind of stick to themselves. So Carlisle was really the only one that we ever saw reach out to different clans and have a genuine friendship and like extended family and stuff with the Denali and whatnot. And so it would have been interesting to see how that part of his personality really glued everybody together. He's a very personable guy, but we don't really get to see much about that. It's just kind of implied, like, oh yeah, Carlisle has a couple friends, you know, he could hit him up, shoot him a text, tell him to link up, we have to have a vampire meeting or whatever. It's cool. It's okay. Carlisle's like the big mama of the family. You know, he's the Medea. He knows everybody's information. He knows how to find everybody. He knows where everyone's at. He knows how to bring everybody together to convene, things like that. That's so cool. He's the only vampire, I think, that we know of that has this kind of ability, that has this kind of thing to him, to where outsiders will trust him. He was gonna bring Laurent and James and Victoria over to the crib to talk and tell them about how, well, we're vegetarian vampires and this is how we see the world and this is how we move and stuff. You know, they was gonna sit down and listen to that. After the baseball shenanigans, they was gonna come to the house, maybe make a new friend if it wasn't, you know, for Bella being there. That story could have been very different, and then that clan of 3 could have maybe been like another friend to Carlisle and them. It's fine. It's not Carlisle's story. I get it. So if we were to get Twilight spin-offs, instead of, what did she say she was going to give us? A spin-off of Jacob and Renesmee. Don't nobody want that. Did nobody ask for that? Girl, do not write that. If anyone sees this video and can send it to her, that's not the story we want, Steph. No ma'am. No ma'am. I would love to get a backstory, or not a backstory, but like a continuation of Carlisle and Esme. You know, flesh out those characters a little bit more, because they are fan favorites. Everybody loves them. We think they're great. I would love to see a bit more of them. You know, you will really have some good characters there that we could spend a bit more time on instead of we'll get there. But yeah, you know, I'm looking at Carlisle right now. I got it up on my computer, and I have nothing bad to say about him. He's a good guy. He's a really good guy. He just didn't like super get me much, because he's very much like a side character. He's the patriarch of the family and the good doctor. That's about it. So I don't know. I feel like we didn't get as much personality out of him as we got out of like Emmett and a Jasper and stuff. And Edward, obviously, because he's the main character. But like, I think that Carlisle could have had a little bit more. He deserved a little bit more. Really, there was space and time and opportunity. You know what? We'll get there. I'll save that one for later. I'll save that for later. So yes, Carlisle, you know, we love you. We speak your name. I wish that we could have gotten to know you a little bit more, because this is from 1640 to what year was it when Bella showed up? Was it 2006 or something? There's a lot of time that has passed in between here that it would have been really great to get to know like a little bit more about that. And I know Bella was really excited to learn a bit more about that as well when they were in her study and she was looking at that painting and she was like, is that Carlisle? Because that's how, and then, you know, so yeah, we got a taste, but I'd like more. I'd like more. He has a really interesting set to him that I think is worth diving more into. But as it is, this is kind of where I'm at right now with him. He's cool. He's fine. I would just like to taste more, just a bit. All right, so if there's anything about Carlisle that I left out that you were like, girl, if you were paying more attention, you would know this. Put it down in the comments below and let's discuss. And I'll see you next time.